The drug trial that tested my soul. The sterile hum of the air filtration system filled the lab as I stood at my workstation, my gloved hands trembling over a stack of patient data sheets, the ink smudged from my nervous grip. It was a gray Tuesday morning in March 2025, and I was 35 years old, a clinical research coordinator at Vitanova Pharmaceuticals, a leading biotech firm headquartered in Boston, Massachusetts. The office was a high-tech hub, white walls lined with digital monitors displaying molecular structures, glass-enclosed labs buzzing with scientists, and wide windows offering a view of the Charles River under a cloudy sky. I'd been with the company for 6 years, starting as a lab assistant and rising to my current role, where I managed clinical trials for experimental drugs, a job that balanced scientific rigor with human lives. My desk, tucked near a lab window with a view of the river's gentle ripples, was a haven of order, a photo of my partner, Liam, and our son, Ethan, at a Cape Cod beach, a small fern ID nurtured since my first day, and a pile of trial protocols ID memorized. That morning, however, my world tilted as I faced a decision that could define, or destroy, my career. The crisis centered on Trial 472, a Phase 2 study for a new cancer immunotherapy drug, Immunovax, designed to target aggressive lymphomas. Approved 6 months ago, the trial involved 150 patients across 3 sites, with Vitanova banking on its success for a $500 million FDA approval. I'd overseen the protocol design, working late nights to ensure compliance with regulations, my apartment in Cambridge a distant memory as I pored over data. The drug showed promise in early tests, tumor reduction in 70% of preclinical models, but the latest patient reports, delivered that morning, revealed a chilling anomaly. 3 participants had developed severe neurological side effects, including seizures, with 1 in critical condition. An email from our chief medical officer, Dr. Helen Carver, a formidable 55-year-old with a reputation for ruthlessness, pinged my inbox. Urgent, review Trial 472 data. Report to the board by Friday or face suspension. My stomach churned as I read, the river outside a blur, the weight of 149 other lives pressing on me. The trouble began with the trial's accelerated timeline. Vitanova, under pressure from investors after a failed diabetes drug, had fast-tracked Immunovax, cutting the usual 12-month safety phase to 6 months. I'd raised concerns during planning meetings, my voice hesitant in the boardroom's polished oak table, but Helen dismissed them. We've modeled the risks. Proceed. My team, Dr. Amit Patel, a 40-year-old oncologist with a meticulous approach, and Lisa Chen, a 29-year-old data analyst with a knack for spotting patterns, had executed the protocol flawlessly, or so I thought. The side effects, logged in the past week, were unexpected, their onset linked to a batch of the drug produced with a new synthesis method. I'd signed off on the batch release last month, trusting the quality control team, a decision that now haunted me. Whispers of my potential blame circulated, and I overheard Amit muttering to Lisa in the break room, his tone heavy, "If this tanks, she's the fall guy." My face burned as I retreated, the data sheets a labyrinth of guilt. I called an emergency meeting, my voice cracking as I gathered the team in the lab's conference area, its glass walls offering no shield from curious stares. Amit adjusted his glasses, his expression grave, while Lisa tapped her tablet, her fingers restless. "We've got a crisis with Trial 472, I began, projecting the patient reports, seizure logs, MRI scans, the critical patients chart. 3 adverse events, 1 critical. We need to assess and report by Friday." Amit's brow furrowed, his voice steady, the synthesis change could be the trigger. "We need to retest the batch." Lisa nodded, her tone urgent, "The data shows a spike in neurotoxicity markers, we missed it in the interim analysis." I swallowed my shame, knowing their insights confirmed my oversight, and assigned tasks, Amit to retest the drug, Lisa to analyze the data, and me to inform Helen. The room emptied, leaving me with the hum of the ventilation, my confidence shattered by the stakes. That evening, I stayed late, the lab's fluorescent lights casting shadows as I reviewed the reports, my eyes burning from hours of scrutiny. The seizures correlated with the new synthesis batch, a cost-saving tweak ID approved under pressure from the production team. Guilt gnawed at me. Had I sacrificed safety for efficiency? I called Liam, his voice a lifeline through the phone, but even his reassurance, "You're doing your best, love," couldn't ease my dread. I slept on a cot in the break room, the fern on my desk drooping from neglect, dreaming of Ethan's laughter fading as I faced a courtroom of accusing faces. Wednesday brought a grim confirmation. Amit's retests showed the new synthesis produced a neurotoxic byproduct, undetectable in standard tests but lethal in high doses. "It's a manufacturing flaw," he said, his tone heavy, handing me the lab results. Lisa's analysis pinpointed the error to a calibration issue in the production line, a detail the quality team had missed. I met with the trial's lead investigator, Dr. Rachel Kim, a 48-year-old neurologist at Mass General, her office a sanctuary of medical journals. "We need to pause the trial," she urged, her voice firm. "Those patients are at risk." I nodded, my hands shaking, and drafted a suspension request, my pen scratching the paper as I weighed the ethical cost against my job. I faced Helen Thursday morning, her office a fortress of glass and steel with a view of the Boston skyline. "We've identified a neurotoxic byproduct in Immunovax," I said, my voice steady despite the knot in my throat. "I recommend suspending trial 472 pending reformulation." She leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "Suspension risks our timeline and investor confidence. Find a workaround." I explained the patient risks, the data, Rachel's stance, my words faltering as she interrupted, "Mitigate it, but don't stop. The board's counting on this." The dismissal stung, her door closing with a thud, leaving me to navigate a moral quagmire. I returned to my desk, the river a gray streak outside, and called an ethics consult with the company's compliance officer, Mr. James Holt, a 60-year-old with a calm demeanor. "Patient safety trumps all," he said, his voice resolute, approving the suspension if I could justify it. I spent Thursday night rewriting the plan, my desk a battlefield of reports, coffee cups, and a wilted fern I revived with water. I modeled scenarios, patient outcomes, reformulation costs, regulatory delays, my laptop humming as I crunched numbers. Amit and Lisa worked beside me, their support a lifeline as we drafted a reformulated protocol, reducing the toxic compound by 80%. I rehearsed my pitch to the board, my voice gaining strength, the Charles River's reflection a reminder of resilience. Friday's meeting, held in a cavernous boardroom with a circular table, was a crucible. I faced 8 executives, their questions relentless: safety data, financial impact, timeline delays. I presented the evidence, the suspension plan, the reformulation, my voice breaking as I spoke of the critical patient. Helen's glare was icy, but the chairman, Dr. Alan Pierce, nodded. "Suspend it," he said. "Reformulate and proceed with oversight." Relief flooded me, my team's quiet cheers a balm to my soul. The months that followed were a redemption. The trial paused, the critical patient stabilized, and the reformulated drug showed promise in new tests. The board praised my integrity, offering me a promotion to clinical trials director, complete with a corner office and a 40% raise. My apartment gained a nursery for Ethan's art, and Liam surprised me with a kayak trip on the Charles. I mentored Lisa, sharing my lessons, and watched Vita Nova's reputation recover. That trial, once a nightmare, had tested and strengthened my soul. Reflecting on that ordeal, it's clear that facing ethical dilemmas requires courage and diligence. When someone encounters a professional crisis, they should prioritize safety, seek expert guidance, and stand firm. She turned a potential disaster into a triumph by admitting errors, collaborating, and leading with principle. If you're in a tough spot, don't compromise, evaluate, consult, and let integrity guide you. The career you build might save more than just your own.